Hey guys, First Regardsman here, and today I'm on the public test server for patch 11.0 Space Marine 2 to talk about the brand new perk effect, or I should say the copy-pasted perk effect for the Retribution perk on the Vanguard skill tree. Now, Retribution in the patch 11.0 server here says when your ranged weapons magazine is empty, melee damage increases by 20%. Guys, this perk is awful. Now, the old perk effect was getting like a 30% melee damage buff for being grabbed or knocked back and things like that, and that perk was also pretty terrible, but this one might actually be worse because this is literally just the copy-pasted perk effect. Motivated melee here. Melee damage increases by 20% if this weapon has no ammo in its magazine. It is the same damage buff. This weapon perk sucks. The calculation is deceptively bad. A lot of people think this perk is actually really good. I will show you why it is not pretty shortly here, but all Saber Interactive did here was copy-paste this perk over into the tree here for Vanguard, and it's bad here as well. I don't know why they decide to just like add in these copy-pasted perks all the time. They kind of did something like this for the Assault class, where defense mechanism here is just the copy-pasted team perk for the Bulwark. Bulwark having advanced conditioning, and these are also the same perk. At least in this case, though, the perk here is very strong. It's also very strong on the Assault class, but it seems like Saber is just not that interested in making interesting perks in Space Marine 2 for whatever reason, which is kind of strange because we know they can make new perks that are quite powerful. Like the new Tenacity perk here, it says after a ranged kill of a Majora's level or higher enemy, diving kicks damage increases by 130. Cooldown is 15 seconds. This one can let you one-shot guys with Shockwave and stuff like that. This perk is quite powerful, and also the grapnel launcher does scale off of difficulty now. We'll talk about the diving kick buffs at some point in time, but for now we're talking about Retribution. So the thing is that Saber can make pretty interesting perks, but this one is simply not one of those, and this is a terrible perk, and I think it should be buffed substantially or just completely reworked on both this skill tree and the Inferno Pistol skill tree. And now we're going to go in game and actually showcase this. So here we are in the testing arena to actually showcase this perk in action. So right now we have a loaded weapon, and our light attacks are doing 28.424 damage per the first light attack, and when we have no ammo in our gun here, we do 30.855, which is pretty damn terrible. Definitely worse than, I don't know, spamming out a melt-a-bomb, a crack grenade, a shock grenade, or a frag grenade. These perks are kind of deceptive. They make people think like, oh, I'm getting a fat 20% buff, but really it doesn't come out to what you might think it is because it doesn't calculate in the way people might expect. And just to showcase that this is in fact just a copy-pasted perk over from the weapon perk tree for the Inferno Pistol, I'm going to do a light attack here with no Retribution perk active whatsoever. We did 28.424 damage again, and then we waste all the ammunition in our Inferno Pistol here like so. We will get a glorious, what's that, 30.855. It is the exact same perk. It is terrible in this perk tree here on the weapon perk, and it's also terrible as a brand new perk for the actual Vanguard perk tree. I don't know why Saber is so lazy that like their solution to solving Retribution's issues is just giving it an entirely new weapon perk that's copy-pasted from an Inferno Pistol. Now, to give you a better idea of just how bad this perk is, I'm using a white standard issue power axe right now, and my base light attacks are doing 16.335 without the buff from my zero ammo weapon here, and with no ammo in my magazine, I am doing 18.744, which is pretty much the same damage bonus we got on the Relic Tier axe. So these things are just deceptively bad. You might think 20% is a super substantial buff, and like in theory it could be depending on how it's calculated, but unfortunately in this game it does pretty much nothing for you, and it's also in the same tree as Honed Reaction and the perk Consecutive Execution. Consecutive Execution basically wiping out entire Extremis hordes for you all on its own at times, and these perks simply can't compete, and they really should be buffed. And now we're going to go back into the Armory Hall and talk about it a little bit more. Now, back in the Armory Hall here, I do want to say there are points in time where getting this 20% buff, even if it's not substantial on its own, can help with things like Shadow Stab and being able to use like an Auspex off a tactical with things like Precise Calibration and Concentrated Fire. There are like use case scenarios for it. It's just my bigger issue is copy pasting a perk like this as like a solution for an already bad perk. It's just lazy, and it kind of just says a lot about Saber Interactive's ability to balance this game. that their solution to having bad perks in the game is just copy paste another perk over it from like a different tree instead of coming up with like something brand new. And we know they can. Like, it takes us months to get brand new perks in this game. Tenacity is a pretty good idea, like I mentioned before, but even before this, we had things like the Assault class having a broken Overcharge perk. In the patch 10.0 server, a lot of people don't even know this, Overcharge is currently bugged. This perk only functions on the Thunder Hammer. It will not work for the Power Fist. It will not work for, like, you know, the Chain Sword heavy attacks and stuff like that. And now in patch 11.0, they finally fixed it. That's like a month plus of having this perk be bugged in game. It just kind of feels like Saber at times, especially when it comes to perk bugs, does not care at all to fix things in like a reasonable time. Like, other game companies would just drop a hot fix for stuff like this. And we know that Saber Interactive does have hot fixes at times for things that are like properly broken. Like, we did get a buff, the heroic chainsword here, to actually have an increased speed way before patch 11.0. So it's not they don't care ever, it's that they're very selective in what they actually care to fix in this game. And my biggest issue here is that Space Marine 2 simply does not have the depth to its gameplay and build diversity to justify the amount of time it actually takes to get perks fixed or updated. Like, things such as tenacity, this took over a year to actually change, and I just don't see any reason for this. Saber Interactive really needs to lock in on balance, because some of the perks in this game just suck ass. I made a video about this the other day talking about just like the overall perk balance still being terrible a year later, but perks like Commendation still suck. This perk is horrific. It has been awful since the original Prestige perks came out. It is still bad now. It has been almost like well over half a year since this came out. And the bigger issue is just that Saber Interactive refuses to make interesting perks in this game. They really need to lock in on that balanced portion of Space Marine 2, because if we look over at a game like Darktide will also take months to update its perk trees and stuff like that, but the issue is there that Darktide has significantly more interactions within its perk trees and its like weapon blessings and stuff like that than Space Marine 2 does. And it makes a lot of sense that Darktide would take forever, but in this case, it just feels lazy from Saber, and I honestly feel like that's part of what it is, or it's just like an uninspired design. Either way, I feel like they would definitely benefit from listening more to some of the feedback they get in their forums, especially around perk designs, because some things in this game could really use a massive overhaul, and I feel like it wouldn't be a huge issue for them to implement at least some of it. At least it must be a bit better than just having a copy-pasted perk 1 year later. And I feel like a lot of these perk issues will become way more apparent when we actually get the Battle Barge expansion in like patch 12.0 or something, and console players are also able to test their weapon damage and stuff like that, because Saber Interactive did say they will be adding like a training arena similar to the testing arena mod on PC right now. And once that actually happens, I feel like these issues will become way more obvious to people. And overall, I just think Saber Interactive needs to figure out like how they want to actually balance this game, because a lot of the issues in Space Marine 2 really are just a numbers problem, and you could pretty easily fix a part of the game and make it feel significantly better if they just focus on like making sure these buffs applied properly. They didn't have like bug perk effects like Overcharge, or, you know, things like the parry phase bug they'll talk about at some point in time. But overall, if they actually manage to fix that, the game will feel significantly better. And I want to know what you guys think about this in the comments below. How do you feel about copy-pasted perks in Space Marine 2? Like the second or third time it's actually happened, and how do you feel about the overall balance of perks in this game, or even just the weapon balance? And if you like content like this, subscribe for more, and as always, thank you for watching, and take it easy. Bye.